You're listening to episode 773 of a VerySpatial podcast, November 16th, 2025.
All of these places I've been, they don't feel like forever. But each step
Hello and welcome to a VerySpatial podcast. I'm Jesse.
I'm Sue.
I'm Barb.
And this is Frank.
And this week, just want to remind you, not in the events corner because we forgot to do it in the events corner. And now it's happening this week, Geography Awareness Week, that the AGS 2050, Geography 2050 by AGS is happening in, I believe in New York. Yes, still in New York. And this year's theme, which I think might be the same as last year's theme-ish, the future of Geo AI and the planet. So, yeah. I don't know why we forgot to put that in the show notes this year, but we did.
But it's November 20th and 21st.
Yeah.
So
this
at
week.
Columbia in New York.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to change their plans to go now.
I don't know. If you're already in New York. It's a big city.
It's true.
They also post it virtually. They do a very good virtual sessions.
So, and of course, that also highlights the fact that it is Geography Awareness Week, which we will come back to after the news.
Speaking of AI, Google Maps is now getting what they call a powerful boost with Gemini. Gemini, of course, is the latest version of, the latest iteration of, the name of.
I think all of the other pieces technically are part of Gemini. So Notebook LM and Veo and all the other ones.
I can't keep it straight. But anyway, this is their AI module because everybody has to have an AI module now for everything. So they're including that within Google Maps. It's supposed to help find landmarks better and make navigation easier. And to some extent, it's supposed to help with like traffic issues. But honestly, I found that Google Maps was okay before that with traffic issues. So I'm not sure how it's going to make it better. Not living in a severely urbanized area, normally we don't have to worry about it terribly much. But if you are, then hopefully Gemini will help your use of Google Maps in your navigating around the traffic. I have to say, if I sound underwhelmed, it's because I am, to be honest with you.
Well, I think
we generally are, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the stuff that you could do, although the proactive traffic alerts for Android are maybe interesting, although that could get frustrating. But I mean, the other thing is really if you like to be able to be more conversational when you ask questions, right? Instead of having to think, how do I need to phrase this to get it to give me the answer? I mean, that's probably the only real.
I don't trust it, I guess is what it is.
Well, there's that.
When I've had not that it'll find wrong results, it's just the conversation. It'll be like talking to somebody who's not very bright. It's just like, why are you not getting what I'm laying down here? So to some extent, I find the weird ways of having to phrase things to be more effective still. So that's
plus, I mean, I think that
it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not for us generally, but
I was thinking the landmarks would help if someone's older. A lot of times if they go by landmarks, but at the same time, will it include landmarks that are no longer there but were there?
I would actually counterpoint that. I think that the landmarks would be because those who are older are used to road maps and what roads' names are oftentimes.
Yes and no. I would back up Barb here. Maybe there's a different divide going on here, but I navigate by landmarks and will tell other people based on landmarks.
So people who are older
sure.
may be thinking of landmarks that aren't there anymore.
Yes.
And we've had that conversation in the podcast where, people are, as Frank gave the example of the bar or whatever it was, that was gone 20 years ago, and yet people are still determined to give directions based on that. Yeah. Now, AI and Google Maps don't know what the old landmarks were. They're telling you the new landmarks, and you're like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. But
for the entire Google Map team that is listening to this podcast, here's my free product for you. Okay. What I want is navigation that knows places that I know about already, like friends' houses. And then it needs to figure out at what point I need to deviate from that navigation. So in other words, if I don't know how to get to a particular road or restaurant in town because I just don't really go over there, if it just goes, hey, go to Lowe's, and I'll go, okay, cool. And I'll go to Lowe's, and at a certain point it goes, okay, you need to deviate from your normal path to Lowe's. That at this point, now I'll give you turn by turn directions. That's what I want.
Yeah, but the problem there is, and tomorrow you'll be able to do that using some agent they're building right now. I don't give anybody my contacts list. I don't even give my car my contacts list.
And that's fine. But I mean, it would know where you've gone. Like if you go to Lowe's a lot because you own a house and you have to buy this stuff, you can like go to. I get really annoyed that it tells me go to the end of your driveway, hang a left. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I live on a dead end road, so basically that's the only way I can go. So duh. And then you get to the next place and it's like, okay, if I take a right, I go to another dead end road. So take a left here. I'm like, I know how to get to out of my house, man. You don't need to give me those directions. The only reason I do it differently is because of the traffic, actually, oddly enough, is that basically if there's a holdup on the interstate, so where I live is sort of the confluence of two interstates that come together. And lately there's been, because of construction and people are idiots, there's been a lot of wrecks on either one of those interstates. So sometimes I do ask it that, so it tells me which way to go to basically avoid the wreck and the traffic. So that's what that's about, but it's still annoying.
Completely different topic, and something we have not talked about in apparently roughly 6 years or so is the fact that MapGuide open source version 4 is released as the final version in the last couple of weeks. It's been at 3.1.2 for the last 6 years plus. So it's interesting to see it get a new release. And so, yeah, it's been, I guess, 6 years since we gave the last update on MapGuide open source.
I haven't looked at MapGuide in at least that long, but now I think I should go back and take a look again.
With our daily lives where we live more in ArcGIS Online than open source, which I feel bad about a lot of times. I just don't have time to build things. But it's out. Also out, GISCI has announced changes. Yes. What is this for? What is this clapping?
Can you hear us at all?
Yeah.
We can't hear you. It's not coming through here, but I can hear you through my laptop speakers, but I don't know why it just suddenly stopped coming through here.
We're also hearing you through your laptop microphone.
Right. So I'm trying to sort that problem out. That's why yeah.
Okay.
So hold on. I don't know why it suddenly.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
I did that. That's how I got the laptop speakers to start working.
Turn it off, turn it back on.
Okay.
The interface.
Okay, can you hear me?
Still through the laptop.
Yeah.
But it may still be booting.
Do something?
I don't know, Barbara. If I knew that, I would undo it. Why can't I leave the session? Well, here's a good way to leave a session.
That is a way to leave the session. See, here's where Barb could unmute her computer.
What?
This is where Barb could unmute her computer, and she'd be able to hear it. But that is, and the computer's back on, and we can see you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
And now you're back to normal.
Yeah. All I did was left the thing and rejoined, and it sorted itself out.
There you go.
All right.
Anybody else want to do this one?
I don't know which one we're up to because
The GISCI.
you started the next item, it went away.
The recertification grace period.
I'll do the Sentinel one, though.
Okay.
Let me read it real quick. Give me 2 seconds.
Barb doesn't want to do it? Kind of figured.
All right. Barbara can do it.
The GIS Certification Institute has effected an
Okay, we threw it at her without her being ready. So GISCI, the GIS Certification Institute, has implemented a new change to those people who have been tardy in their recertifications. In the past, they've allowed up to a 1 year grace period before recertification. You don't have the full year anymore after January 1st. You are limited to 6 months. Now, just recertify. Just whatever, they send you an email like 3 months in advance. Not hard to put it together. Just take care of it. But if you are behind, make sure not to let it go more than 6 months, or you'll have to go through the whole rigmarole of getting recertified, I guess.
Which may take a test.
Yes, it would mean taking a test now.
If you did not take the test to begin with, so you definitely don't want to let that expire. So fun fact, I was thinking about, so the last time, one, I'm going to give a caution to what Jesse said about they send you an email. Make sure your email is up to date in the recertification thing, because I got mine at my previous place of employment, and the certification goes 3 to 5 years or something like that. I can't remember the exact length. It's a long enough time that you go, oh, I can't remember that. I need to think about that. So the email I would have gone to a dead email because I don't work there anymore, and they obviously, discontinue my account and all that stuff like that. So I did have to update it. I did have to update it to make it my current email, my personal email. I did check to see when mine runs out, which is June something or another, which does lead me to question, is it run out June something or another and I have until December, or it runs out like January and I have until June? I don't know. All I know is I made a calendar thing in March to start doing that. So it's not that hard. It will tell you when your time is up. One, go make sure your email is up to date. And two, just make a calendar thing that says, hey, start your recertification on this day.
Yeah, the date in your recertification on the website is the date that your current certification ends. That does not include any grace periods.
Right. So, and it's not hard. You just got to get the points. And remember, it's enough points you pass. Like there's no bonus credit for more points. So don't worry about loading up on as many points as you get your hands on. Just get the number of points you need and then move on with life.
And don't wait too long before you recertify.
Right. Because you don't want to take the test. Or if you did take the test, you certainly don't want to take the test again.
Yeah,
so
that's more money. Don't really talk about Emlid that much, but since they did release 3 new GNSS receivers, just wanted to highlight that there's a link in the show notes. Go check them out. Again, between all the different companies out there, they're the ones that tend to be not the least expensive, but this combination of good price and good quality data, and a lot of people are using them. So there's a lot of resources out there in addition to their own support. So it's just, head out and check them out if you're interested in either field systems or RTKs or, anything you might want to use these for.
And they have a robust online community when you go to their website. But I could not find their about their history. But they do offer a lot of support through their website, it looks like.
I found out something interesting this last week that I didn't know. So a part of my job is helping programs with things like certification, recertification, program review, all that kind of stuff like that, accreditation issues. I think that was kind of interesting is I met with the surveying program who are up for their program review next year at Fairmont State. And I met with the advisory committee, which is all surveyors. And I found out lots of interesting things about surveying technology that I didn't know. I didn't realize exactly how varied I'm going to call it operating systems, but software and bits and bobs that each of these companies use are. Like, apparently the way you do things in Trimble and versus the way you do them in other things are like radically different from each other. It's just kind of interesting. It kind of shocked me a little bit how unstandardized they are on doing very standard processes, even more so than like ArcMap versus ArcGIS versus QGIS. It's just like apparently like way different ways of thinking about the world. Kind of neat.
And all we care about is getting the appropriate string out so that we can read the data.
Yeah, basically. But the way they do all that stuff is apparently just radically different from each other. The analogy I would use is it's as different as CAD's approach to, geography as compared to GIS's approach to geography. Just very radically different ways of thinking about things.
All right. So finally in the news, some space news. The final satellite, I believe it's the final satellite in the Sentinel-1 mission. So Copernicus's Sentinel series has launched successfully. So launch was November 4th. And right now, of course, it's undergoing the usual diagnostics. So that's Sentinel-1D, which will be pairing with Sentinel-1C, which I believe launched in December of 2024. Sentinel-1A is still capturing imagery, I believe, or capturing data. Sentinel-1B, actually had to end the mission after a sensor failure, I think in 2022. So curious because Sentinel-1C and D are supposed to be twins. So I'm not sure how A is going to play into it if it's still capturing data, which I believe it is. But these are all SAR satellites. So their sensors are synthetic aperture radar, and they've given us great data. I think the Sentinel-1A went up as early as, 2014. And so one of the things that they're very good at is this high resolution elevation data because it can see through clouds and it's not affected by weather. Sentinel-1D's also got an automatic identification system because one of the things the Sentinels also allowed you to do is track ships or at least get ship positions. And so the AIS, the automatic identification system, is an improvement on that. So when it's done with its diagnostic period, it will be hopefully fully operational and continue to give us some really, really good data as part of a very successful mission.
And data twice as quickly since you have them on counterpoint trajectories. And that is it for the news.
All of these places I've been, they don't feel like forever. But each step I'm taking.
In the web corner, talking about Geography Awareness Week and GIS Day. Within that has been the 30-day map challenge. And this is a challenge where cartographers and geographers around the world can map to 30 different mapping themes each day. And there's some really great creativity going on out there if you want to visit the repository. One of my favorites was out of New Zealand, and it looked at murals, but it was using points of color. So if you were someone who was looking to, take a photo of yourself in front of a mural and you wanted a certain color scheme, now you can go and you can find it. So I thought, that's just one of those cool ideas that you can put out there on the 30-day map challenge to show off your own creativity.
All of these places I've been, they don't feel like forever.
It is Geography Awareness Week. Welcome. It is going the 16th through the 22nd. That seems right. Yeah, we'll go with it. Of 2025. And this year, AAG, because of course, a few years ago, National Geographic stepped away from having themes. A couple of years later, AAG, the Association of American Geographers, started to have themes. This year's theme from the AAG is Making Spaces of Possibility, or Making Spaces of Possibility. How are you planning on celebrating this Geography Awareness Week?
We decided to join Making Spaces a Possibility with International Education Week. And I think that this is going to be a great collaboration. And it's one that I encourage other people to think about, is combining your weeks together, because the theme Making Spaces a Possibility also goes along with the idea of internationalization of education, because you can't really separate out geography from International Education Week.
I should also point out that International Education Week is also this week. It's the 17th through the 21st, in case people didn't put that together. But
and I want to give a shout out to Teach OSM, because I'm on the working group. I encourage anyone out there that's interested in OpenStreetMap and using that for next year's Geography Awareness Week to get involved and think about doing OSM Mapathon.
We've talked to OSM many years ago, and they're always looking to push their data and their products further and getting them more open to people. The challenge there is always, those hidden spaces that oftentimes don't get mapped, particularly certain points of view or minority populations. Mapping their geography can be really powerful, and I think it's a great way to think about Geography Awareness Week, to be aware of those spaces that are just, not widely known. So OSM is a great organization for people to get involved in and do map outs as part of Geography Awareness Week. I know that what's going on this week, you probably got locked in, but it's never too early to start thinking about other things you could do. And that's an organization I highly recommend people connect with to try to see what they can do in their areas.
And I think, even if you don't have, say, specific events, just highlighting all of the the concepts in geography, right, that are about, even if you take the theme, right, making spaces a possibility, and on the AAG site, they've got some resources, and you can also, well, it's too late for this year, but you can also get lots of resources on that, and the Companion GIS Day, which happens on the Wednesday of Geography Awareness Week. But just, given those examples when you get a chance of how, geographers look at the world and see sort of what are the patterns, right? One of the things that I always start off my students with, even in GIS that come from different places, right, is the idea that recognizing patterns helps us understand the world around us. And when we see the patterns and then understand the processes that create them, right, that gives us the possibility then to say, maybe if we see a pattern that, we would like to improve upon, maybe it's something that, we don't think is the best, then here's a way to then suggest a solution, right, that to solve a problem. So if we notice inequality, if we notice all kinds of things, right, we could see those patterns, and then maybe we can work on the possibility, right, to tie it to theme. And so I think that's one of the things, just, highlighting again how geographers look at the world and how that helps us really get a sense of the local and broader patterns, right, which we've talked about for all of our years on the podcast.
If you wanted to do some really quick activities, if you're going, it's Geography Awareness Week this week, you can also look for some of the movies that relate to geography that you can show and just do a movie watching event.
Yeah, there's a film series that a gentleman that was strongly involved in the GIS community within West Virginia named Gene Del Greco, who clipped out bits of geospatial things within TV and movies. And he's got version 3 now, so it's like 3 versions of this. I think it's a total combined hours of 6 or 7 hours worth of material. So it appears a lot. There's a lot there that you can tap into if you wanted to do that sort of thing, looking at media and how geography is used in there, particularly the annoying things which I, and to a lesser extent Jesse, have complained about over the years with the TV show Numbers, situations where people don't realize what they're doing is geospatial work. They're calling it something else. But there's lots that you can tap into, and they're a great way to introduce people into geographic concepts. At least I think so.
And so coming back around to the topic of making spaces a possibility, what are your thoughts on this idea? On the AAG site, it says, possibility is a footstep, a hand outstretched, a horizon glimpsed, a purpose spoken. Possibility is grasping the past and present of a place and acting to move it into a positive future.
My gut reaction was it almost sounds like baby steps, which I get, but maybe I'm reading it in too limiting to their definition. But it feels like they're saying, okay, find something that you can actually influence, act local sort of piece of the common phrase. That's what it kind of felt like to me, which is not a terrible idea because the sum of thousands of baby steps is quite a large leap. So I like that they're encouraging us all to kind of look around locally, in my interpretation, and make a positive impact on in the spaces that we inhabit on a day-to-day basis.
I've been working on a wiki entry for Geography Awareness Week and have sort of been getting a crash course in the history of it. And I believe that possibilities is one of the running themes they've had since it started in 1987, 1988 by proclamation. This is, I think, the third time, not space is a possibility, but there's been something with possibility. So I think there's always been this look towards the future and optimism, and the fact that, geographers can create change in the world.
Well, I think, right, awareness not so much is possibility, but opens up possibility, right? So when you are making those spaces a possibility, it's that recognition of whatever the thing is, as you say, Frank, that maybe it's something local, but first that recognition that something's going on. And then from that, what can we do? Right. Whether it's even, something local, like you notice that there's an area that you'd like to see some green space, and maybe that's something that you do, like, well, let me see if there's an effort I can do to get this green space protected, or, there might be something infrastructure wise, like, can I get involved or see, right? I can see on these maps that, we don't have the road system that we need to handle all our new population or something like that. And so first recognizing that through an understanding of the geography, right, can open up the possibility that you can have a voice or something in that potential, right, that possibility of making a change.
And going back to what Jesse said, I think the theme has always been set around the idea of what are the current challenges that are going on in the world. So one of the earlier themes was about protecting the National Park Service and national parkland preservation. So, it feels like these themes reflect maybe not what's going on right now, but generally what's going on around the world within the past year or two, or since the last Geography Awareness Week.
I think, if we look at this idea of a hand outstretched, it is, of course, that awareness, making sure that we get the word out, but also, utilizing our knowledge to put our feet on the ground, I guess.
Well, I think too, right, part of this theme maybe is also that as geographers to bring our voice more strongly, even if we can, even if it's only for small things, out into the broader world to help guide. All right. So
have local community organizations. We have local businesses that need support, especially small businesses that you could work with if you see places where they might not necessarily have the knowledge about a particular thing that you do, giving them a little boost up by just letting them know about things, not necessarily doing it for them, but just letting them know that this might be something they could take advantage of in terms of geospatial technologies or just spatial knowledge of a certain type. So certain, if you have a local creamery and you want, maybe them to use more local ingredients, pointing out specific sources that you know of.
Yeah, because I think that maybe because we've been doing it so long, or as geographers or geospatial technologists, whatever, we're so immersed in it, we assume people know that these things exist, right? The tools to do this, the perspective. But I just a couple of weeks ago, we visited an amazing local project where they're working on a historic cemetery. It had been re-identified, right, and students at our university are participating in the local community. But I had a great chat with the local historian who had been instrumental in getting recognition and getting a partial kind of access to the site, to the area, all right, to get efforts to do cleanup and all that. But when we were talking about things that, they were unaware, for example, of that you could map these things until they had just seen the work going on, that all these other things can go on to help identify first, right? And then hopefully protect things. But it just reiterated for me that, there are so many things that we can do to help people. And if we aren't the voice to tell them that these exist, they don't know. They still don't know. And so I think it's good not to make the assumption that people are aware and just, continue to see where you might just say, hey, you could do this, right? You could map this, or you could share this information. As you say, the creamery example is actually a really good one, right? Is that while there are growing communities to work on these kinds of things, there's still plenty of places where people just don't know yet.
Yeah, it does surprise me that how little people are aware that they can answer questions very easily that they have, and they come up with really convoluted ways to do things. And it always shocks me until I remember working around my house trying to do things like landscaping or whatever, and then a landscaper will go, "Why don't you just use this tool?" And you're like, I didn't even know that tool existed. I didn't know there was a thing that did that. So it happens to everyone at some point, that you end up chasing up a direction because it's the only way you know how to work it. That sometimes it takes somebody who's an expert to come in and go, hey, there's an easier way to do what you're trying to do, right? And I can help you. So, you can be that person for so many people. Even if you're not a geospatial technology person, you can be aware of it. You should be aware of it as a geographer, that something like that exists, that you can help people get in touch with it, or with people who can do it, or places that are familiar with it. And it's not going to cost, for for those who are unaware, it's not going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars necessarily. There's lots of people that can do this technology and would like to do it to improve their community, to help out for whatever reason.
And I also want to say, because I have heard this a few times, that if you were, exposed to this even a few years ago, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, in school or through a community event, and you felt like it was very complex and complicated and clunky, that things have, been more user friendly, and they continue to, become easier and easier for the public to be a part of. So don't be put off by an experience you might have had a long time ago, when we're in a area that continues to grow and expand.
Of course, we strongly encourage you to head over to look at a lot of different resources that are out there. Again, not as much on the National Geographic site anymore as there used to be. So there's general information that kind of, I think, goes back a couple of years. But of course, there is AAG information. So if you go over to aag.org/geography-awareness-week-2025, you'll find their information. And, they work with various organizations. They also worked with Esri, of course, with GIS Day, National Council for Geographic Education, so NCGE, in terms of their sponsors for the week. And there's a lot of, resources on that page in addition to those organizations. There's also a link to a story map and link to become a geo advocate. Now, I'll say that I've been a geo advocate for a few years now, and I don't think anybody's ever reached out to me through that particular thing, but you never know who might one day need access to your knowledge. And so being on that geo advocate page just provides a way for people to find you. And actually, I just realized I probably didn't update it after I switched universities. So nobody in North Carolina has reached out to me. So I should probably update my information for South Carolina.
There you go. That's your administrative task for Geography Awareness Week, is to update your geography.
Well, having been involved in these sorts of things for a while, is an excellent chance that nobody reached out to you, even if you had updated. And one of the things that I think that we do poorly as a body of people is we're very good at saying, I'm here and I'm willing to help, which is good. But if you ever had an intern, I'm here and willing to help, from an intern tells you, I've just invented a lot more work I'm going to have to do on top of the work that I have to do, because directing people takes a lot of time and energy. So what I think we could do a better job of, and I would challenge all of our geographers and geospatial people, is not stop at I'm here and I'm willing to help. Figure out where you can get involved actively. And I'm as guilty as everybody of not doing this, but get involved actively to help without, needing somebody to tell you exactly what to do. It's hard. I know we're all busy people, but I think it does play along in the theme of this year's Geography Awareness Week.
And I think I would add on to that too, is that sometimes, we've given examples that might have to do, say, with the mapping end of things or something like that, but sometimes just your geographic perspective can help people interpret things. And, if you're talking about, say, trying to characterize an area or a neighborhood, right, for some kind of advocacy purpose even, or just, maybe some informational stuff, just the geographic perspective alone, aside from any of the practical mapping you do, can often be an important part of that, right? So say the ability to take a look at something and see it as a landscape as opposed to a collection of houses or something like that. So even those types of things are valuable. And if you feel you can, speak up and kind of help and just say, here's a perspective maybe you haven't thought of.
And Sue, what you said made me think of another resource people could grab right away, which is the many YouTube videos out now being made by geographers. But of course, the really great geography series created by Mr. Sin, who does AP geography. You could grab any one of his lessons and use that. I really like his Reading the Landscape, his exercise in cultural geography, because he has you guess what's going on in a photo. And it's always a lot of fun.
And so, with that, enjoy your Geography Awareness Week. Enjoy your GIS Day. Enjoy your middle of November, right before maybe a holiday for you if you're in the United States, a little bit after a holiday if you're in Canada, and probably not a holiday for you at all if you're in other parts of the world. But enjoy the geography awareness.
All of these places I've been, they don't feel like forever. But each step I'm taking.
On to the Events Corner. As always, we encourage you to check out events near you, not near you, anywhere, everywhere.
All at once.
GeoWeek 2026 is going to be February 16th through the 18th in Denver. And of course, this is a culmination of a few different events that are going on there. Yeah. So go and check that out.
And of course, we spoke at the beginning about the event in New York City.
Geography 2050.
Correct.
Of course, if you'd like us to add your event to the podcast, send us an email to podcast@veryspatial.com.
If you'd like to reach us individually, I could be reached at sue@veryspatial.com.
I'm Barb at veryspatial.com.
You can reach me at frank@veryspatial.com.
And I'm available at jesse@veryspatial.com. And of course, you can find all of our contact information over at veryspatial.com/contacts.
As always,
We're the folks from Very Spatial.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
All of these places I've been, they don't feel like forever. But each step I'm taking, it seems like I'm finding myself. Oh, 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 oh. I've searched for gold and I've uncovered all kinds of treasure. But I take it all and I give it to somebody else. 'Cause none of that means much. A little love would be enough. Oh, 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 I'm on my way back home. And I know on the other side of the great unknown, there's a place I'm welcome in. There's a place I know I'm called a friend. There's a place that I'm never alone. There's a place called home. A place called home. Oh, I've walked for miles and I've traded my time for adventure. Yeah, I've seen the world and I know what it's got to give. Yeah, I've had some fun, but I know where I came from. Oh, I'm on my way back home. And I know on the other side of the great unknown, there's a place I'm welcome in. There's a place I know I'm called a friend. There's a place that I'm never alone. There's a place called home. A place called home. Oh, said I'm on my way back home. There's a place I'm welcome in. There's a place I know I'm called a friend. There's a place that I'm never alone. There's a place called home. A place called home. There's a place called